I have a client who sent us some photographs of an electric strike in a jam, and they say that the latch gets stuck as they go to open the door. And what I'm thinking is the latch gets stuck when they're trying to allow someone in via the electric strike that's installed. And I don't know anything about the lock. I don't know about the condition of what the latch may be in. Maybe the latch is destroyed. But a very common cause is preload on an electric strike, and that's what this video is going to be about. So let's talk about exactly what preload is. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. So preload is a condition where you have an undue amount of force pushing the latch bolt inside the keeper of... Preload is concerned mostly, or brought up in conversation when you're talking about electrified hardware. You can certainly have preload on just a standard door, and all it is, again, is force pushing the door out of the opening. The latch is holding it in the closed position. So if the door was going to swing out from your perspective, it'd be like a left-hand reverse. Have you ever turned a knob or a lever and felt that you were dragging the latch bolt against the strike plate, or it was difficult to rotate that? That is actually preload. There's too much force pushing the door, and it's really hard to draw the latch bolt back, to really pull that back in. So in an electric strike situation, you literally have so much force, I'm pushing this way, so much force pushing that the keeper doesn't release. That's a very standardized condition. Many, many years ago, the only cure for preload was to properly hang your door. The door is not hung properly, or adjust. Now, what causes preload is something to discuss, and it's not that you have a door not hung properly. There are environmental conditions that in a couple of instances don't have really anything to do with the door. The door's hung perfectly, but there are things happening on the door. Let's talk about what the causes are of preload. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. So preload is caused by, in no particular order, a door that's warped. You could have an interior application, you could have access control on the inside of a building, and the electric strike doesn't work well, or the magnetic lock isn't holding very well because you've got a warped door condition. It's not preload on an electromagnetic lock, but in an environment where the door is not true plumb level and square, and it's warped, it's twisted, it's bowed somehow, that could very easily cause a preload condition or an improper securing condition. Going along with warping is, why would that occur in an interior environment? Well, you've got a door that warps. If you've got 100 wood doors, there's going to be a measurable percentage of those that are just warped, especially if they've been brought to the job site and they're not factory finished, or they've been brought to the job site and there's an environmental condition where the moisture imbalance is such that the door has warped. I could demonstrate a skid of doors, and it's just something that we would do every day, or notice every day. A skid of doors that's in your warehouse. You go home that night. You come back the next day, that door is warped. Guaranteed. You go home the next night, but before you go home, you take that door and you turn it over. You come back the next morning, that door is warped. Okay? That night, you go home. But before you go home, you put a sheet of cardboard on top of the door. Next morning, the door is not warped. So that door is constantly going to be giving off and absorbing moisture, and that's going to cause it to act just like a sponge. Think of a sponge at your sink, and that when the sponge is hard, it's curled, it's cupped. It always is. They're never truly flat. They have some sort of cupping to them. That's because the moisture on the top side versus the back side. The top side of it's sponge, the bottom side is a Scotch-Brite sort of application. So it cups, curls, things like that. Same scenario. It's actually really easily described in the sponge scenario because it is absolutely full of moisture and at a rate of giving off moisture. Let's talk about a couple of more conditions. If you've made it this far into this video, you must be determined to see it through to the end, and we appreciate your hanging in there with us and watching this entire video. It means a lot. It takes a lot of work to create these videos in the sense that, it's time taken away from doing other things. However, the advantage for me personally of creating these videos is the fact that it does allow myself to either learn about something new, to reacquaint myself with something, or to reinforce what I believe that I already know. Any comments that you might leave down below would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Now, a couple of other causes, and you will certainly have possibly some ideas yourself, but the first two, warping and, the first two were a warp door in an interior environment. The next would be a thermal situation where you have a door that has a particular exposure in terms of north, south, east, west, and you've got daylight, and you may have a really dark paint, and you will have thermal bowing where the outside skin of that door is going to heat up, it's going to expand, and the door is literally going to bow to the outside opening. It's literally going to push away from the strike. Thermal bowing is a real problem. I've had a customer who built a service station and bought the doors, got them all, the mason was there right after the thaw, early spring, mid-spring, got everything set, and he opens June 1st, and then come August 15th, he's in our shop insisting that we've sold him defective doors. Describes the scenario. It's okay at night. It sticks during the high point of the day. What color did you paint the doors? Dark brown. 18 gauge hollow metal doors. Steel, just steel, baking in mid-Chicago summer. The exposure was absolutely as direct contact as that sun comes from east to west. That southern exposure, that door is just getting the thermal energy all day long. Just all day long. And it's not an answer that someone wants to hear. The combination of the environment, sunlight, the combination of the color choice, something very dark which absorbed everything, caused the problem. The issue is he has an exit device on that door, and hitting the touchpad, the latch wasn't being pulled back. And loosening the strike is not really a great answer. Thermal bow, it's an issue. That's all there is to it. The next cause could certainly be stack pressure. Back to an interior environment, you could have exterior environment. You could have so much HVAC happening, the need for air, for CFM, being pushed out, pulled in, whatever it might be. You can have, especially a well-gasketed door, you're going to have a lot more force pushing that door out in a well-gasketed situation. That can cause thermal bowing as well. You'll notice it when a door closer tries to close the door, and it gets the door almost closed and it just dances there a little bit. But it only does it at a certain time of year when the HVAC is really on. When the air conditioning is really, really on, you've got cold air just pumping out. That closer just doesn't get it there. That is a more obvious way to talk about the door wanting to go in the outward direction. Now, if the door is latched, the air is still pushing it. Preload. Another condition could simply be, very likely, is a jam that's not true plumb level and square. You could have a small amount of twist on a jam, and that's tipping the door out, canting the door out. So that's inherently preloading the strike. If you've ever installed something, you've got to file the back of that strike. Preload. Something's not on the right center line. Something's not exactly the way that it needs to be to work correctly. And you can adjust that. You can, you can shim the door. You can modify or cant or tip the door in a particular way. The Steel Door Institute steel door preload.org, I think is what it is. They have publications that are free that talk at length about how to adjust doors. So lots of reasons for preload. The original answer was, well, just fix the door. If there's nothing wrong with the door in the environment, the sun, HVAC, a lack of or too much or too little HVAC, imbalanced HVAC, is going to give you preload, and you didn't ask for it. Now, what does preload look like in terms of hardware? Well, let's talk about that right now. Regarding the links to ads that you might see in this video, we do apologize for any interruption to a smooth viewing experience, and hopefully the ads that are being presented to you are related to the base product. And if there is something, feel free to click on those and perhaps consider taking a look at what that other advertiser is promoting. Let's get back to the video. So now we have a typical Adams Wright 7100 series strike, very prone to preload. This is a extremely common electric strike. This could be the most common electric strike in the world. Aluminum storefront, 1/4-inch radius corners, 4 7/8. Typical material. You can wire this or order it AC or DC voltage, AC or DC current, and then you can order it whatever voltage you want. So that's really going to work super well. There is the 7400 series. This strike is specifically used to contend with preload, is the bottom line. And we're going to show you how this works actually for preload. Both of these strikes are fail secure so that when I push on the lip, nothing happens. But we're going to wire the 7400, and I'm going to pull on it, and we're going to release it, and I'll show you how it opens, contending with preload. I don't know how much force I can generate by pulling on my fingers, but I would say it's not insignificant. And then we'll test to see if the 7100 series can handle that as well. And let's do that. We'll do the electrical component. I've got my power supply here already set up. I'll connect the wires, and then we will test, and then we will discover in the catalog what Adams Wright says both of these are capable of. Let's do it. Okay, so what I have here is obviously a power supply, and it is powered, and I have the Adams Wright 7400 powered here, and I'm going to rotate this, and I have a momentary push button here, a Locknetic 701 RDEX, and okay, that opens. When I push, momentary button. I'm going to put, with my thumb, a lot of pressure on this. A lot. As hard as I can push it, it fails open. I don't know how many pounds of force I'm generating, but let's say it's north of 20. And it just works. Okay. Now, hey Terry.
Yes.
Would you come over here, please? Take this electric strike and put a finger on each, over here. Put a finger on each of these triggers. No, what you want to do is push it outwards. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Bring it up here. Now do it. Now put your fingers there. 2 fingers. Yeah, yeah. As hard as you can. As hard. Okay, so it works. Do it one more time. How many pounds do you think you're pushing?
5? I don't know.
Oh, probably way more than that.
Yeah.
Probably way more than 5. Okay, so that is the 7400. Now, let's switch and see what the standard 2100 will, the 7100 will, how that strike will operate. And now I have the 7100 series connected. I'm going to carefully bring that over and show that to you, without disturbing any wires. Okay, it's locked. I lost one of my wires. Let's reconnect. Two white wires on this are momentary. Okay, the circuit works. The strike is locked. When I hit the push button, you can hear it click, and I can get it to move. Now, let's put some force on that keeper. Terry, why don't you come over here and put lots of force on this keeper. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead and, but don't disturb it too much. Lots of force with your finger. Lots. See? Let it go. A small amount of force, lightly. Let it go. Open it now. Put a really, really light touch. Do it again, light touch. That works. Increase that by a third. By 1/3. Doesn't work. Decrease it by a third. Now it works. Okay, that's preload. This strike actually doesn't, the 7100 actually does not work well at all. And I can tell you, any preload amount, it's a light touch. That 7100 is going to tolerate a very light touch. Okay, so let's look at the manufacturer's literature and try to determine what they're talking about when it comes to handling preload. Let's take a look at the Adams Wright catalog. Search Adams Wright in our site and click on any of the items that come up. That link right there. Alternatively, the link to manufacturers here would get you there as well. So we'll open up the catalog, product catalog. Let's type in preload. Yeah, it comes up. It comes up in the 7400 series and the 74R1 and R2, which are meant for rim exit strikes for sure. The 7400 series, which is what we tested, 7400, for Adams Wright dead latches, cylindrical locks. That's awesome. Designed for use with Adams Wright dead latches or cylindrical locks up to 1/2 inch to 5/8 latch bolt projection. That's really important to understand that. This doesn't have anything to do with preload, but you have to be really careful that the projection of your latch bolt does not exceed 5/8 of an inch. And what I mean by that is if you have a standard mortise lock, that would be considered the absolute wrong strike for that, because the projection of a latch on a mortise lock is generally 3/4. You can get 3/4 on cylindrical locks as well. You'll see double door applications that are fire rated that require a 3/4 minimum latch throw. So the 7400 open electrically under 25 pounds of preload. Boy, I would have attested that I was pushing a lot harder than 25 pounds on that strike lip. I couldn't get it to fail. In fact, I pushed it as hard as possible and it continued to fail open. Okay. Preload is pressure exerted on doors by air conditioning systems, warping or misaligned hardware, which can disable common electric strikes. And we saw in the 7100 example that it utterly disabled the strike. In fact, there's really no mention of preload here at all in the 7100 section. So the 7400 would be the strike to use for a preload condition. It will work with cylindrical locks, which is what this client likely has. Non-handed strike, ultra compact design. It is. It's all of the above. It's a very attractive strike. Has different faceplates for hollow metal applications, aluminum applications, wood applications. It's going to work. It's going to work. Depending on how you derive the part number that will give you the different faceplates. Current draw, it's all listed here. Right out of the, I was going to run DC, so right out of the box, I was able to power it with 12 or 24 volt. And that's it. Okay, now let's take a look at the photographs that the client sent to us. So we are making a couple of guesses as to what the issue is, and the client did say that, you know, the latch gets stuck. Well, it could be thermal bow, it could be, you know, preload, it could be really anything. The issue is we don't know what's actually causing it to not work correctly. The fact that it's an electric strike tells me that it's probably preload, because if it was a standard strike, there probably wouldn't be that type of problem. Certainly a strike that we are very familiar with. Looking here, typical and common 7000 series. Okay. Let's wrap up this video on camera. There was also an article written in the Locksmith Ledger. It's an industry periodical that there is an article on preload. It's called Preload Electric Strikes Under Pressure, published January 16th, 2023. If you were to search Locksmith Ledger and Preload Electric Strikes Under Pressure, you'll find a good size, good length article talking about exactly this condition, preload, what you might want to refer to or talk about or discuss, the perspective of field experts, locksmiths, someone who works in tech support are there as well if you wanted to dive deeper into a conversation about it. The Locksmith Ledger website would be a good way to find that. I believe the periodical is called Keynotes, is what it's called, but you'll find it Locksmith Ledger, Preload, Electric Strikes Under Pressure. Thank you very much for watching this video. Any questions on electric strikes and preload, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.